it's me, Peachy Pet Paradise, and today I'm going to be talking about critter trail cages. Now, despite the amount of people that have mentioned about how bad these cages are, there are still so many people that have this cage and house their hamsters in it, and are convinced it's a good cage brand. Well, hopefully after you've watched this video, you will see a different side to this cage that maybe you weren't aware of. So from when I made my good and bad hamster cages video, I have had a mixture of comments and of course about the critter trail cage. From complaints and questions I've received, I thought I'd just make a whole video on it and talk about this cage brand in more detail. It's quite shocking the amount of people that will actually stand up for this cage and are convinced it's a good cage, but I honestly think that's to do with people having this cage, because of course you're going to defend it if you have it, but does it really make it right for your hamster? I also get some people saying, well, my hamster likes the cage, but how do you know that? You can't talk to your hamster and they can't tell you they like it, so there is actually no certain way to know if your hamster likes the cage. You should ultimately do what's right for your hamster and try your best to make sure they're living in at least an appropriate cage. It's not much to ask for, and if you can't afford to get a suitable sized cage for a hamster or even make a bin cage, which are very affordable, then you shouldn't really be owning a hamster, because a cage is the most basic supply for a hamster and is one you should get right. So let's start off by facts. So the critter trail measures 50 centimeters by 29.21 centimeters by 40 centimeters. So it is quite small. And there are quite a few types of critter trails, but all very small. Your cage needs to fit bedding, a hut, a wheel, food bowl, a water bottle, some toys, shoes, and space for your hamster to explore, and a critter trail unfortunately does not provide that. The wheel that comes with the cage is not very good or very big, and certainly not big enough for a Syrian. The base is honestly tiny, and you cannot fit the bare necessities for your hamster in that. From seeing this cage in real life, I actually put my hand in the cage and put it down on the base, and I was just amazed by how much space it took of the base. I have had a lot of people ask me if it's okay to connect critter trails together, but unfortunately no, it's not enough. Even if you were to connect 4 of them, although you may think you may be creating more space for your hamster, you're actually not. There's only one way I can really describe it. It's like having a huge house and then having lots of tiny little rooms to fill that house. So you wouldn't actually feel like you're living in a big house because you don't have lots of space to walk around in. Instead, you're always going in these small little confined rooms, so you're constantly living in a constricted space. I've also had lots of comments about dwarf hamsters because they're smaller than Syrians, that they can be housed in this cage. I do want to get across, just because a hamster is small or a dwarf hamster is tiny or a mouse is very small does not mean they should be put in a small cage. That is a huge misconception. Because a hamster is small, they only need a small cage. It's actually the other way round. The smaller they are, the more space they need. Because the smaller they are, the more energy they have to burn, the more ground space they need to run on, and therefore they require a bigger cage. So think about that. Think about how energetic your hamster is, or any other rodent you have in that cage are right now. Is it actually doing them any good? Despite all the bad points about this cage does have a couple of good uses that you could use it for. So I think this cage would be great as an attachment to a suitable sized cage, or for temporary uses like a travel cage, or something you could put your hamster in while cleaning. Or you could even use it as a starter cage. Other than that, I don't really think there are any other uses for this cage. I think the main focus on this cage type is definitely made to look cool, and this cage does look cool. I mean, look at the colours they've used, the tubes, little extra added bits to the cage. They're all very fun and look very cool. But that's the problem. It's too attractive to a lot of young children and people that they buy this cage and they think they're getting a really cool cage, and they put looks before needs of the hamster. Now, this video is not here to make you feel like a bad owner if you do have this cage. This video is here to raise awareness for this cage, to help people realise that this cage brand is really not great, and that it's not too late to change or upgrade. If you make that difference, you're already doing right by your hamster. So I have a little slogan: say no to critter trails and say yes to a better life for your hamster. And this doesn't just go for critter trails, this goes for any small cages out there like this or of this size. Now I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this video because despite what I've said, I'm sure there's still going to be a lot of people liking this cage and thinking that she's talking absolute nonsense. It's just how it goes when you mention anything bad about the Critter Trail. People get really defensive. But I hope this video has helped at least some of you, and I hope you've considered what I've said and maybe even persuaded you to make the change and upgrade. And anyone housing their hamsters in this cage, just think about what's best for your hamster, because your hamster is the one that's living in it. I also think you should ask yourselves, would you want to live in that cage? Would you live in it? So that's the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this very helpful. Any comments or questions, leave them down below. If you like our videos and want to see more, then go subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, then don't forget to hit that like button. And we'll see you next time. Bye!